Well, hello, everybody. Hello, Bettina. How are you doing today?
I'm great. Hi, Eric. Hi, everyone. How about you?
I'm doing good. I had a really long sleep. I slept way past the time I normally wake up, so I feel
Oh,
uh, I feel like my day's condensed, but I feel very rested. So that feels fantastic, and I love when I get enough sleep because I wake up and I feel like I'm at my best self, and I feel like I make my best decisions, and I feel like I feel really capable when I'm on full rest, and it's the way to live life. And I wish everybody. Um, I think maybe a lot of our social ills could be uh, hedged if everybody was walking around on 8.5 hours sleep.
yeah. Yeah. 8.5 solid hours.
Mm,
I
yeah.
tend to, I tend to wake up um, sometimes in the night, and that annoys me because I think I just want to sleep right through. And then there's other nights where I sleep right through, and it's like I sort of take it for granted.
Yeah.
And I don't go, wow, I'm kind of grateful for that, like right through, no waking up thing. Um, but yeah, I think stress is kind of the biggest issue and cause of disease in the world. And I think that dealing with stress and hence getting a good night's sleep are probably our two best ways um, to heal and to be healthy. And when I say dealing with stress, I don't mean making it disappear. I mean learning how to be in the moment of whatever you're feeling,
Yeah.
and without judgment, which I think is a key.
Hmm.
I think when we start to feel stress and when we start to feel, like you were saying a few minutes ago before we came on air, when you start to feel anxiety or fear or worry, um, we tend to go into our heads about it and go through this whole analysis, especially um, the 5, 6, 7 of the Enneagram, because they're in their head anyway, and they're the thinkers. We tend to overanalyze every feeling, every sensation, every emotion that comes up. And then we get caught in that loop of analyzing and overanalyzing and trying to figure it out. And I think if we just settled back and relaxed into our bodies and felt without judgment or analysis the sensations of the emotion, I think a lot of that stress that our body undergoes would would be abated in that way.
Yeah. That's really well put. And it's kind of this catch-22 in a way where a full night's rest does a great deal to center yourself and to alleviate unnecessary stress. You're not in such a easily triggered state when you're fully rested. Sometimes when you're really stressed, it's hard to rest, and it's um, it's kind of a difficult cycle, and that's why it's just so important to be able to interrupt your state and interrupt your pattern of thinking or of behavior, so that you can get back to a baseline of comfort and faith. Whether that takes the form of a religion or whether it just takes the form of I have faith in myself. I have faith in myself that I can get through this, and I don't need to cause destruction in my circles. Um, as a hope, as a call for love and a call for comfort. Um, and really, I think it comes down to things that we can do to increase our confidence. And I think there is a lot. There's a lot that we can do to increase our confidence uh, that isn't the result of gaining a trophy of some sort. There's a lot of tools there to take us feeling like a victim or us feeling at the mercy of our circumstances or of our conjured circumstances, and get into a place where we know that we're in control and we know that we'll get through it and it's going to be fine, and we're just going to do the next right action and stay in the present moment, like you say. That present moment is just so key. It's so key. It's hard to feel stress in the present moment because in the present moment you can do everything about it. But it's when we stay in the past or when we project into the future where we have no control, or we imagine things that are going on around us, and it can be devastating to our psyche.
Yeah, I think we create those scenarios, and then we're always in the what did I say? WCS, the worst case scenario, and
Right.
we get caught up in that, and even when we have to have something like a difficult conversation with someone, we know it's going to be a little tough to have a conversation with someone over some conflict. And before we go into the conversation, we have already gone through the conversation in several different ways, putting in our own responses for the other person and assuming that it's going to go that way. So we're pushing ourselves into the future and trying to already figure out the outcome and what we're going to say to it, instead of, like you say, being in the present moment, just saying, just expressing what we're feeling and allowing the other person to express what they're feeling, but going into it, and this is one of the biggest things I've learned from being in the Course in Miracles group that I'm in. And the woman who is the facilitator is Holly Holden. And one of the biggest things I learned from her was to be in that sense of wonder. I wonder, not needing to know ahead of time, not always having to have the answer. Like, when your kids, well, you don't know because you don't have children, but when your kids come and ask you a question, as the parent, you always think you have to have the answer. But, why can't you sit with them in that wonder? I wonder why the sky is blue. We always have to have an answer. We always have to. And now I'm finding, as the good little 5 that I am, whenever I want an answer, I'm picking up my phone and, Googling the answer. I'm picking up my phone and looking for, why is the sky blue? I can't just look at the sky and go, wow, what a gorgeous color of blue. I wonder why it's so blue. I wonder how big the universe is. I wonder, what the weather's like when I step outside, not, sitting inside looking at the thermometer and saying, making judgments about what it's going to be when I go outside. It's funny because today's supposed to be so super cold and there's cold warnings and it's -20, feels like -26 or some such thing. And I went out to do some moving of cars around, and I put my coat on and I had no socks on and I just went out in my slippers. And I stepped outside and I went, it doesn't really feel that cold. Now, I'm sure if I was outside walking for half an hour, it would certainly feel colder. But, I had the thought before I went out that it was going to be so terribly cold. And then when I stepped outside, it wasn't what I expected right away. And I think that's really important, because the worry, the anxiety, the fear, it all comes from projecting the future. It never comes from what's happening in this moment. Never comes from what's happening in this moment.
Yeah. I remember even doing that as a kid, walking to and from school when it was like absolutely freezing outside. And the more you thought about it, the worse it got. And if you just if you could put your focus, into your chest, it actually made it okay. You weren't suffering, and it wasn't until 17 years later, I read a book about what that was. But I remember doing that as a kid, or if something was crappy going on in the house, if I could put my focus right here, it was like it alleviated the suffering. It was still going on, but I didn't suffer. And you can only suffer in the past or the future.
Yeah. You can be at peace with that feeling of suffering, that feeling of, I don't want to say, because if you're at peace with it, then you're not suffering anymore. So if you are feeling anxiety, but you can be okay with the anxiety and say, all right, I'm feeling anxiety right now. Okay. Now, do I have to go in and analyze it and see what it's about and figure it out? Will it go away? Not necessarily. I used to think that's what had to be done.
Yeah.
But now I'm really learning that you just have to be okay with it. It's like that feeling of love or joy or happiness. You don't analyze it and say, oh, why am I feeling so happy? I need to find out why so I can do it again. We
It'll
don't do
take you out
that.
of it. Yeah, you
We
know.
get lost in the moment of it
Yeah.
because that's something that we judge. But neither one is either good or bad. Neither one is, better than the other. It's just another emotion. And my thoughts about the emotion are what caused me to suffer, not the actual emotion itself. So if
Yeah.
I'm feeling anxiety, I just go, oh, there's that funny feeling again. That's interesting. All right, I can be in this for now till something else comes along, right? Um, if my thoughts start saying, oh my God, I'm feeling anxiety again, I have to get rid of it, I don't like the feeling, then your body starts doing all sorts of stuff that's, just magnifies it and makes it bigger. Because now we're focusing on how we don't want it and how we have to get rid of it instead of just relaxing into the moment of it. I know it sounds really strange, especially with something like anxiety, but um, it really is our thoughts about it that cause us the problem, not the actual emotion itself. And it's
Yeah.
all, it's all linked. The emotions, the thoughts, the beliefs, they're all linked together. And if we can see that link and recognize that, how we judge something or what we think of it is what causes the problems more so than what we're feeling
Yeah.
in itself.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think hearing that, we all know that that's true. And it's just a matter of reminding ourselves, the key is, like you say all the time, is create the gap. You know, we can know this right now. And for when you're watching, and that makes a lot of sense. You're like, oh my God, yeah, that's true in my life too. It's more the resistance of the thing. It's the more the thought about the thing than it is about it is the thing. And we know that, and then yet we go out into our life, and then we get triggered, and then we follow the thing. But if we can, that every time that we come across, something that makes sense to us, if we can just store it and use it, and if we can create the gap in that moment where we're being triggered, and remember the tools, remember this, remember it's the thinking about the thing, it's, I can only suffer, resistance is suffering. I can only feel horrible about, the past or the future, right now. And I just even think back to when I was a kid and I was going through difficult situations with the parents or with, school or with bullies or something like this, when I could, for me, I don't know if this works for everybody else, but for me, when I stopped resisting it, I mean, it was just, I'd go into myself, I'd be like, fine, this is happening, you know? And then from that place, I could do the next right step. But so long as I was worried about what was coming, worried about how unfair it was, worried about how stupid everything is, I would get worked up, I get angry, and I couldn't take the next right step because I was in like self-loathing, and I was in loathing for others, and I was in loathing for my life. But when I could just go inside and be like, okay, it's happening. What is the next right thing I can do to get out of this situation? What can I control? What can I contribute? What can I create? Moving out of myself, moving forward. What can I do tonight? If I was being bullied, what can I do tonight? I can work out. That I know that's going to give me confidence. I know that's going to make my body stronger. I know these things. When it came to, the parents, or you'd have this drama going on around you, what can I do? I can stop giving my emotions. I can start giving my power away. I can start doing the next right thing. I can go pick up a shift, or I can get a job or something like that where I can add to my freedom. And you come up with these great solutions when you stop resisting everything. You can really, and sometimes that's difficult when you're having an issue and there is a barrier to asking for help. But where there's not a barrier is when you come up with the solution. And so you want to get yourself into a place where you can come up with solutions readily. And when you calm down and get inside of yourself, the solutions come. When you stop being stressed and tense, it's almost like meditation in a way where you just get inside yourself, and the next right step reveals itself to you, like your inner wisdom, your soul, your whatever's connected. If you believe in a higher power of some sort, like God come through you, whatever, it comes. It comes all the time with the next right thing to do. And then you're in complete control because you can stay in the present moment, you can focus on that task, and you alleviate so much spiraling, so much reinvigorating this stress pattern or this anxiety pattern. And it's a difficult thing to break. I'm not saying it's not, but I would hope that everybody has enough, who listening has enough um, experience with this, that it's happened before in their life and they know it's true. And this being an instance to remind you that it works. And even though it sounds counterintuitive in the time, because you feel like you need to stress, you need to fight, it's actually surrendering, so that you can then take control of what the next right thing to do is.
Yeah. And beyond that resistance is that presence that is calm and quiet and still, and where the answers lie. And when we're in resistance and we're in suffering and we're in chaos, we don't hear that quiet voice. We
No.
hear the chaos. We only hear the problems. We only hear the resistance. But it is in that stillness. If we can step beyond that chaos, beyond that resistance, we can hear that wisdom that comes from that place beyond, that knows exactly what you should be doing next.
Yeah. Yeah, you have to get quiet enough to hear it. Yeah, it just whispers. And as long as everything around you is yelling, as long as your mind is yelling, as long as your mind is fretting, panicking, you're not going to hear it. You have to interrupt the pattern. You have to change. You have to get out of that state. However that is that you do it. If you want to take a cold shower or something ridiculous, or you want to put on a song and dance or something, like, I know it sounds ridiculous, but you watch all the best motivational speakers, and it's whatever it takes to break your pattern. Break the pattern, and then you can get quiet, and then you can listen.
Yeah, and get connected.
That's right.
Yeah, for sure.
And when you listen to yourself, when you come up with the answer, there's no resistance there. As opposed to, like, when people, when you have troubles in your life and people are like giving you advice and they see you struggling, or maybe you go to them and they're like, oh yeah, you need to do this, or, this is the way that you should handle the situation. We all have that resistance to that. We all don't want to hear, what somebody else, because they don't really know the situation. They think they're doing their best, and sometimes it can be a good piece of advice. Oftentimes, I mean, almost never does it really line up with you and mesh, and you're like, yeah, that's exactly what I'm going to do. Most of the time you're like, okay, I'll take it into consideration. I'll think about it. I'll add it to the closet of ideas or advices that I've been given. But when you come up with the idea, it's just like right away, you can start moving in that direction because you don't question it. You don't, it's you, it's your best thinking.
Yeah, it's like putting on someone else's shirt. I mean, it's not going to fit you the same. It's not going to feel as comfortable, and it may not be your style. And so we can ask for people's input, but we really have to measure it and sit with it and really feel if it resonates with us, and really turn to that inner presence for the truth and for what we know is right for us. It's so important, and we don't trust it. I mean, this is why mediums and card readers and all those types of modalities are so popular, because we don't trust our own inner voice. We don't trust our own inner intuition. And we need confirmation from outside of ourselves, instead of trusting what we're hearing within ourselves. And that only comes from practice. That really just comes from daily practice of being in the quiet and listening and waiting for the answer. It will come. It will come. It always does.
Oh, it always does. It always does. That's a really good point about trusting yourself. Yeah, your highest self.
Yeah, definitely not the ego self.
Yeah.
When
It,
someone's yelling and when someone's yelling and screaming at you and telling you nasty things, are you trusting them? I don't think so. Do you really want to even listen to them? No. And yet we listen to the ego
who's yelling and screaming at us?
who's
I
doing the very
know.
same thing. Yeah.
I know.
Yeah.
I know.
But if someone sits quietly with us and talks to us and
Holds our hand.
and supports and does it in a loving way, we have more of a desire to listen to them, at least hear what they have to say and what they have to share. So
Yeah.
something to be said there.
Yeah. Yeah. I know that we've done shows on the ego in the way that, it is not our best friend, and we have to be our own best friend. There's no sense fighting here, between these two places. And that's what the ego will have us do. And the ego will have us work and work and work and work and work for a solution that doesn't do anything or makes the problem worse.
Yep. And that is exactly what happened to me yesterday. I in the Course in Miracles group that I'm in, they do a live video every day of the lesson and a talk, and you join in. And I always love it when I get in. I mean, you can watch it later on the recorded version, but I always love being in the live one because you get that interaction.
Mm-hmm.
And I was, for some reason, so I wrote something in my journal afterwards because it just struck me how the whole series of events and what was happening with me throughout. So I go into the live video. It wasn't Holly yesterday; it was Robert, because now they're sort of trading off and taking turns. So Robert Holden, he's doing the lesson for the day. He made a comment that the lesson was about it's my thoughts about something that caused me suffering, basically. And he said something about he brought a sports reference into it, and I typed, I'll have to tell my husband that next time Tottenham loses. Then there was a little bit of banter back and forth about the sports thing, and I was laughing. It was so funny. And then he says, "Now, come on, I'm trying to be so spiritual here, and you're you're saying all this stuff." And then he said something about, "Oh, now people are being naughty, and I'm trying to be so spiritual, right?" And I was killing myself laughing, and it was fun, and I felt the lightness of it. And then afterwards, after it was all over, the video was over, and I'm sitting there and I start writing in my journal about it, and I go, "Oh my God, I feel the ego pushing the guilt on me. You shouldn't have done that. That wasn't very nice. You did the wrong thing, yada, yada, yada." And it was like, presence of love. I'm going to see if we have a moment, I'm going to see if I can find what I wrote here.
While you look for that, no, it's a great point, where that sinks in and that dread afterwards. It was like, oh my God, should I have said that? Was that okay? And then your ego beats you up for it, or says, here, you might want to beat yourself up for this.
Exactly. Okay, so I found it. I said, "I did recognize today that my thoughts were telling me that in order to look like a model student who is spiritual, I need to be serious and reverent. Today, though, presence of love wanted to remind me of my playfulness, and I invited it in. But immediately afterwards, I saw how the ego wanted to show me guilt. Can I let go of the thought that I did something wrong and believe presence of love instead? And though I can't quote the lesson for today, I do know that it is very much the lesson I got. I noticed how I resist the call of loving presence in favor of the ego. No matter how many times you do the lessons, there is always more to be learned. I can be my playful self without guilt. I can invite love in, knowing I am deserving of its presence." So, yeah, that was like so interesting to me, how in that moment where I was like, oh, that was so much fun and that was so funny and la 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 la. And then the ego says, oh, no, 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 you're having too much fun. I'm going to just like pull the rug out from under you and
Yeah.
throw a little guilt your way. And I thought, you know what? I'm not going to feel guilty. I'm not going to feel like I'm not spiritual. And this is what the ego will do. I'm not spiritual because I'm not serious enough, because there's some thought in my head that's saying, these are the parameters for the ideal spiritual person. And I think that's why I like JP Sears so much, is because he just like knocks the mick right out of that one.
Yeah.
He just takes the air right out of that particular belief. And I love it. I love it. It's not about being so holy and self-righteous and everything else. It's not. It's about accepting that playfulness when loving presence offers it to you. It's about saying, okay, I'm feeling this anxiety right now, and that's okay too. And it's about laughing at the little quirks that we have and the things that we do, and we bang our forehead after and say, wow, what did I say that for? But we can let it go, because it's all part of our manifestation in human form of loving presence, and our journey as Ram Dass says, walk each other home.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
I like that a lot. And when you say, no, I'm not going to follow the ego, that's the critical moment right there. Otherwise you could beat yourself up all day. You could feel guilty. You could go to sleep with that thought. You wake up tomorrow to join the group again, and you're like small, and you're like, should I really even show up? Should I take the day off? Like, should I even face this? And meanwhile, this thing's been a huge deal in your head for 23 and a half hours. And nobody else has thought about it. It's
exactly.
all
And
it's only been for you, and you're suffering, and it's so important to break that pattern so you can get back here, so you can, and that's really what trust and confidence is in yourself. It's like, no, it was the right thing to do at the time, and I don't do that every day or every 6 minutes. It was the right thing to do at the time. It was, I can be my playful self without guilt. I like that a lot.
well, and the thing is, after I posted that in the group, it was so funny because there were so many people that said how much they enjoyed it
Yeah,
and how it gave them a
yeah,
laugh, and they really loved the banter, and so it just shows you that um, that what you think sometimes is not what's really happening,
yes,
and sometimes you have to say it out loud in order to find out the truth. But after a while, you
yeah,
start to learn that it's not the truth. And again, you trust that it is what was supposed to happen, because it happened.
yeah,
And it is what you're feeling, because it's supposed to be what you're feeling because you're feeling it. Um, and there's nothing wrong with it. It's just a part of the human condition,
yeah,
whether
yeah,
it's
yeah. If you
joy
felt it
or
from,
sadness, whatever.
yeah, 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 if you felt it from a place of love, from a place of creation, rather than a place of fear and reaction, then it's probably right.
Absolutely.
Hmm. Well, we've used up more than our half hour. If
Oops.
Bettina, you would like to finish us off with a meditation, I think that'd be terrific to send us off and remind us about you know just believing in ourselves.
Yep. All right, let's close our eyes and breathe deeply into our bodies and really concentrate on inhabiting our bodies. Feel ourselves moving out of the head space. Put our hand on our chest. Feel our heart. Really move into that heart space. Feel the sensations of our bodies. Feel the emotions. that are coming through. If it's anger, it's okay. If it's joy, it's okay. If it's love, it's perfectly fine. If it's sadness, that's okay too. Try and keep the judgment out of the feelings and just allow yourself to be in the moment, to allow yourself to be fully in this emotion. It's the judgment of it that keeps us trapped and puts us into a place of resistance or in a place of neediness. In the case of love, I don't want to lose this feeling of love. I must keep doing what I was doing to continue to have that feeling of love. It's not the truth. The love, the fear, the sadness, the joy will all flow through you in waves, a continual flowing if we open and allow and accept. And as we feel each emotion, we greet it like an old friend at the door, invite it in, and let it stay as long as it needs to stay, as we treat it graciously and welcoming. And we do not place judgment on any of it. And if we have thoughts about any particular emotion, we take note of it, but we send it off because we don't need to hold on to that thought. We can let it go and feel. And then when you're ready, wiggle your fingers and your toes and bring yourself back to the world.
It's a good reminder. Thank you, Bettina.
You're welcome.
Well, thanks everybody for joining us today, and we'll see you all again next.
Have a great week, everyone.